Jack here from Just Decoded. We break down body language and non-verbal communication to find out what people are truly thinking and saying. If you spent any time on the internet in the last few years, you'll probably recognise the name Jeffrey Epstein and in turn Ghislaine Maxwell, who was allegedly his right-hand woman and accomplice in a lot of the weird stuff he got up to. Interestingly enough, Ian Maxwell, Ghislaine's brother, recently went on Piers Morgan to actually defend his sister. It's a really long interview, it's about just over an hour, so obviously I can't sit here and break down the whole thing, but there's a specific segment which Piers even timestamped as, I think it's I Believe My Sister, which is probably the best short segment of him just giving a pitch for why he thinks his sister is innocent and had nothing to do with anything bad that was going on. So yeah, with that being said, let's jump right into it and see what we can find.
I mean, she was in a full-on relationship with a man called Ted Waite from 2003 to 2011. Certainly by the time of his conviction,
Okay, so first and foremost, one thing we've seen is a lot of eye-blocking behaviour. So that's any motion where you're shutting your eyes or you're kind of squinting them or even you're shutting them for a long period of time. So this subconscious behaviour essentially protects us from seeing things we don't want to see, but is also used in instances where we're just in a situation we don't want to be in or talking about something that we don't want to talk about.
And there was any meaningful continuing interaction.
Look, my point is this. She stayed pretty close to him and friendly with him. I'm not saying what particular capacity, I accept they weren't lovers, but she certainly didn't distance herself or disown him, despite his conviction for procuring sex with an underage prostitute. So my question for you is, you're convinced of her absolute innocence here, and yet she knew.
So something we saw just a moment ago was a lot of head positioning changes. We often do this trying to find a more comfortable position when we're subconsciously feeling a bit awkward or just uncomfortable. Something else we're seeing here is his shoulders are very high. In body language, this is known as turtling and is used as a kind of way to shield and protect ourselves. You see it in different walks of life. For example, a football team that have just lost and been thrashed 4-0, as they're walking off the pitch, they'll kind of, chin down, shoulders up, shrugged into a turtle position. So yeah, clear signs of discomfort there.
Guy that she was so close to was a convicted pedophile from 2008-9 onwards. And my question to you would be, well, why would she still hang around?
Okay, so something we saw there. So whenever we're trying to read someone, it's really important to get an idea of their baseline, also known as idiosyncratic behaviours. So behaviours that are specific to them. And a way that we find deception or spot signs of certain emotions is actually looking for deviations in that baseline. Let me just rewind that and see what you can pick up.
That she was so close to was a convicted pedophile from 2000.
So very neutral, very still, not much blinking was going on, but as soon as Piers says the word convicted pedophile, you see lots of changes in his behaviour. So the blink rate is about to increase.
8-9 onwards.
Swallowing, you saw a big swallow there, and he's also readjusting
his
position.
Well,
again,
why would you still hang around with him? It's a question I would ask Prince Andrew. He was asked it, of course, would be pedophile from 2008-9 onwards. And my question to you would be, well, why would you still hang around with him? It's a question I would ask.
And also, if you take a special note at his hands, you can see a gentle rubbing of the thumb. So this is known as a pacifying behaviour. And again, we do this subconsciously when we're feeling uncomfortable or anxious, worried, or listening to something that we don't want to hear.
Andrew, he was asked it, of course, in the infamous Newsnight interview, and all the others, is that you can make an argument. Donald Trump never saw him or dealt with him again.
So back to the hand positioning, he's doing a variation of what's known as steepling right now, which usually indicates a level of confidence. But something to note when steepling is the direction of the thumbs. Typically, thumbs pointed down indicates lack of confidence, thumbs pointed up means you're probably confident. Strangely, he's got one thumb up, one thumb down. Not quite sure what to make of that, but what we did notice a moment ago, as mentioned, was one thumb was rubbing his hand as a pacifying behaviour. So yeah, super interesting stuff. Let's see what else we can find.
According to what he and his people have said. But there are many people, including Ghislaine, who continued to hang out with him. Well, and if I was her brother, that would raise a few alarm bells with me about actually whether she's telling me the full story. Because There it is in black and white. He was a
More eye blocking, some really solid closes of the eye.
Well, I would question you on your facts as to hanging around or remaining close or remaining friendly. I don't think that's the case with Ghislaine, and I think your dates are wrong.
So she never saw...
That reminds me as well, one thing to notice, look at his smile.
I don't think that's the case with Ghislaine, and I think your dates are wrong.
So we see a lot of smiling from Ian throughout this video, and in most cases, from my judgment anyway, it definitely seems like a fake smile. Real smiles meet the eyes, and what we're seeing from Ian right now, I would say is more of a smirk. So yeah, just another interesting observation.
So she never saw him or talked to him again after 2008-9, after the conviction.
But
That's not what's been reported.
Well, I think there is a picture, quite a well-known picture now, which was pointed to by the prosecutor when the day of Ghislaine's arrest, which shows her in quite a snug embrace with Epstein, which I think is dated to 2006 or something like that. Now, she was full out with this other fellow, Ted Waite, at the time, and we know that they bumped into Epstein at some social event, and he grabbed her round the neck, and someone took a picture. So, I mean, I'm not saying that they never saw each other, but it's that type of context in which that took place.
Do you know how much...
So what we saw there was very animated limbs, so lots of hand and arm movements and lots of body movements too, as he was telling that story. So in contrast, usually when someone's lying, they naturally move less, almost subconsciously as a way to hide themselves. Like shoplifters in supermarkets will often move with as little movement as possible. They won't really swing their arms, they kind of just glide through. And yeah, obviously in contrast, coming back to this instance right now, he's actually picked up and increased his body movements, which makes me think this story he just told is either in his mind true, or at least something that he's rehearsed and said multiple times and that he's trying to get across. So yeah, let's continue.
Epstein paid her.
How much
Money he paid her over the years.
No.
Because she was leading an extraordinarily affluent life, and no one was quite sure where all this money came from. And the presumption is it was her fees from Epstein.
I don't think that's entirely right. I mean, she was a very talented girl. She was an NASD trader in her own right. She had...
So going back to Ian's baseline, this guy naturally has quite raised eyebrows, but something that people do when they raise their eyebrows, that's an indicative sign that they want you to listen to what they're saying in that moment. So we saw him raise his eyebrows as he just said that, which again would indicate that he wants you to listen to that. Obviously the topic right now is about how she got her money. I don't want to get too into the conspiracy side of things, but from my research I have heard that their dad played a really big role in this whole saga and their lives. And he was actually, apparently, allegedly, the one responsible for introducing Ghislaine to Jeffrey Epstein in the first place. And their father, in general, was just a very high-ranking official, which in turn, from what I've heard, he would have had a lot of money himself. And apparently Ghislaine was essentially the apple of his eye, and he really saw her as the star child. The only reason I mention that is obviously this is Ghislaine's brother, so any information about their dad he probably knows too. Just something interesting to bear in mind as he, goes on to explain where she got her money.
Various skills which she was able to turn into, including decorating houses and all the rest of it. So I don't accept that Epstein was her sole source of money, and nor do I believe that it's as vast as you paint it.
Well, I didn't say sole, and I didn't put a figure on it, but the reports have suggested she got paid many millions of dollars over the time of their...
Okay, so I just noticed the hands have actually changed from a steepling position to fingers clasped, where they're essentially like this. Again, important to look at the thumbs. If they're pointing up, that's an indication of confidence. Pointing down is an indication of lack of confidence. His were just pointing down, so potentially a shift in his mindset as the conversation veers onto talking about money. So yeah, we're going to wrap that one up there. Really fascinating interview. Definitely recommend you go and check it out if you're interested in this case. If you want me to do any more on this kind of topic, let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you on the next one.